fiddling with my hair might be becoming one of my things. But I was watching a little bit of YouTube while I was working, and then this popped into my head, and I was like, I didn't build a foundation here. And I don't know like why I thought that was going to work. I basically just moved across the country, got everything kind of set up like aesthetically, and then was like, this is how life's gonna be. It'll transfer perfectly from over there and everything will work out great. And it's like, not necessarily. And just because you think there'll be minor adjustments, those adjustments may not work. There might not be a small little adjustment to work. Sometimes you have to tower your freaking life, burn it to the ground, and figure out new, fresh, what else is going on. Agree, boo-boo? You agree? Yeah. So one of the things that I've realized is that I don't necessarily can do that when I get into a new space. And I was trying to apply a lot of old rules, basically of how I used to live my life in Arizona, to Portland, and thinking that like, oh, because certain problems are resolved, it'll work out just the same. It's not going to. It's not going to be the same. It's going to be a very, very big, hot mess. And it has been, and I think that was one of the reasons why I got so frustrated with myself and suddenly felt this overwhelming sadness, is because I just expected life to kind of figure itself out without analyzing my habits in detail and finding what actually is going to work extremely well for me. Really. So like one of the things that I realized was there are so many different aspects to living in a new place and setting up new friendships and dating again and finance. Like literally every piece of my life has been a little bit wibbly wobbly, I guess, because I haven't actually focused and sat down and been like, well, how do I want this to go? What do I want my life to look like here? What do I want it not to look like here? What is something I really was hoping was going to get done here? What is something that I am all about here versus something that I'm not so fond of? You know what I mean? To get myself to do it, one, and two, to make sure that also producing content, because things are moving along. I'm gonna make a series of how I am, quote unquote, rebuilding the foundation of my life, in a sense, if that makes, you know, like I'm giving this base to it, and then from there hopefully things will level up and get better and go off and do all of that, if that, and hopefully then this will also prevent some dipping in cycles, because that was one of the things I really wanted to eliminate at the end of last year, was the fact that I seem to go in these big emotional, financial, life cycles of really, really good to really, really bad, and really, really good and really, really bad. And I think one of the reasons I also got extremely sad not that long ago is because I literally felt myself doing that again. And I was like, wait, no, that was supposed to be one of the things that Portland fixed, was that it's more consistent, a little up or higher on the happy side, like that's what's supposed to happen. And that didn't happen. So we need to be a little more proactive. So first things first, what I want my life to look like. And I think you have to kind of start there always, because if you don't, then you kind of just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And while like that might work for some people, that don't work for me. Like my Capricorn moon screams at me, no, why is there no structure to this? And so I realized, okay, let's make a list. Let's make a list of all the things that I want out of my life. And when I was first trying to make the list, I couldn't think of literally anything to put down on a piece of paper. I was just like, I don't know, like what do you nature, like everything that was just seems like it's so inherently just part of Portland, like why do I even have to think about this? And then I decided, well, I've always been more of an image person. Think of the image, what do I want my life to look like? So I pictured myself, and that person that I want to be is someone with long black dark hair. She is fit, she is kind of like smirking, smiling all the time. She looks done up enough to know that she looks good, while also not giving a shit whether you care enough that she looks real done up or not. Like it's a really kind of casual, comfy, boho goth look. That's what she looks like. But not soon after all of that, it felt very, like, I don't know, I have to build their pieces to it, right? Like, it's not just about things being how I look, it's also about then, of course, the habits that are around this life. And so things like that girl eats some delicious, nutritious food, and that would mean, like, I immediately like flash and think of like myself cooking something in a kitchen. So I'm like, okay, I need to focus on cooking good recipes at home. And it's interesting that that's the first thing that goes to my mind, not like eating at restaurants a bunch, which is what I've currently been doing. And the walking everywhere, like someone who knows the city and knows their neighborhood like the back of their hand, which would be accomplished by me walking more places. And my apartment, when I think about like what type of living space does that person live in, they live in something that looks like comfortably lived in, aka this is not a person who lives in a spick and span gorgeous place, and it's not a person who lives in a total pigsty. It's a good, comfy, lived in situation, which I can definitely do. I can totally add on to the whole actually getting something relatively clean. I can do the getting something relatively clean without it being like this constant cleaning. The idea of like the private person has really close, good friends that they talk to enough, but also really enjoys their alone time. This is the type of person that goes and sits at a coffee shop and just works on what they're doing with their headphones on and doesn't think about anything like that. You know, doesn't worry about what everyone else is thinking about them. This person just like sits there and gets coffee done. This is the type of person who makes things every single day. Like the creation is never limited. Something creative is always done or made in some way, shape, or form. And it's interesting as I go through all these things how quickly certain habits start to pop in my head. I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that, or I'm doing that, or you know, these are very interesting ideas. So another video I've been channel I've been watching recently is called Michelle B. Not a witch channel, more of like a self-improvement lifestyle channel. And she had mentioned in one of her videos the idea of personal policies and how you make personal policies to help you build certain habits or whatever. And that personal policy would be like, I do not drink on the weekends, or I only drink on the weekends, or like I don't I have to be in bed by this time, or I don't bake things for events. You know, I always buy store-bought food because I don't want to give that stress to myself. And so there's like certain small personal policies that you can give yourself as a way to help you build a habit and a schedule and all of that. So I think what I want to do next is I'm going to write out kind of how I want this stuff to look in a more personal habit-based set, and I'm going to do it in several different aspects of my life. I'm going to do it financially, because now living out here, supporting myself fully, having certain financial goals, I realize I need to sit down and be like, okay, I've now been here for 2-ish months. I need to be focusing on that and figure out what is going to work logistically and like what is actually doable for me financially, goal-wise. Don't have too lofty of goals, don't have two goals that are too under, that just keep getting me more issues. Like, I need to be a little more focused on that front. And I need to look at it relationships-wise, meaning dates, friendships, socialization, all of that, especially because my lack of socialization, working at home, doing stuff here, needs to definitely do. So finances, socialization so far. Creativity, I want to have an entire thing based off of my foundation of how I'm doing creatively, aka YouTube, podcasts, poetry, other writing, drawing. All these things need to have some sort of upheaval and a foundation, as opposed to me just like haphazardly creating things. I also want to do something around the idea of my home life, because I think that's really important. You know, keeping things clean, cooking, whatever, like, you know, the stuff that you do at home, because you live so much of your life at home, and since I now work out of my home, I spend most of my time in this freaking apartment, and so I want to have a really good foundation of what I want my home in general to look like, feel like, the things that need to be met within that foundation as well. And that could go along also with like decluttering, you know what I mean, like the organization and all that stuff too. And then I also want to do health, because that is another thing that I have been on a goal for forever, and I want to make sure that I find something that's good and maintainable here and actually doable, and something I'm going to do on the regular, as opposed to, you know, not type of thing, and letting it slip away and suddenly I'm just eating a bunch of burgers and pizza and not exercising, and yeah, I know how life gets at times. So anyway, yeah, I am right now rebuilding a foundation, so the next several videos will probably be all focused around that. I'll probably do, so that's 5 different categories I just listed, so I'll probably do a video per category for the next, I guess, week and a half type of deal. And yeah, comment down below, what do you do when you're trying to like rebuild a foundation or restructure your life or reset life or whatever else? Do you find that listing things out and doing them very like pragmatically really works well for you? Do you got some earth sign settling in somewhere over there with your stuff? Or are you one of those people that's more like, no, I just kind of like let it free flow chaos wise? How does that work for you? Does it do a lot of great things? Yes or no? Anyway, I make new videos every single week, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye bye.